it mean for a white person or for us when we're being told go back to Africa, and how should we react to it? How should it make us feel? Study your country, read about your country, read about the resources that you have, read about it, and ask yourself, where do those resources go to? Where do all the resources that my country has, where do they go to? You realize that it's shipped there to you, it's given to the white man. The white man lives off of your resources and then comes back and tell you how, or the one that saved you, or the one that helped eradicate poverty in Africa. The same people that are eradicating poverty in Africa, they don't have enough the amount of resources that you guys have, but they are eradicating poverty in Africa. So what happened to the African resources? Yeah, what happened to it? They have to respect you, because all what they have, where did they get it from? Did they not steal it from Africa? Hey guys, welcome back to Analysis with Janet. Here we talk about everything. Feel free to share your thoughts and your opinion in whatever thing you're talking about, but always remember to be polite with your thoughts. Today we're going to be talking about this phrase, and before I get into the phrase, I just want to say this. A lot of us Africans that have migrated from our various African countries to Europe, or what we say to the abroad, we must have heard the saying where we're often told by white people to like go back to Africa, especially when we talk about the mistreatment that we're getting from them. They often tell us to go back to Africa or go back to your African country. So today we're going to talk about that phrase. What does it mean for a white person or for us when we're being told go back to Africa, and how should we react to it? How should it make us feel? Because as a black person living here in Sweden and as an African, I've often been told by Swedes to go back to Africa. And if you have been following my journey here in Sweden, you know that I've been very vocal about a lot of things happening here in Sweden. I've been documenting a lot about my autistic and intellectual disabled brother here in Sweden, which you can follow on his Facebook, Instagram account, where I've been putting a lot of videos and talking a lot about how abuse is going on here in Sweden, especially on Africans, because the majority of blacks here in Sweden are coming from Africa. And that has always put me in conflict between myself and the Swedish people. And most often I'm being told by Swedes that I should go back to Cameroon or I should go back to Africa if I'm not happy with their treatment or things like that. And today I wanted to make this video because I know that definitely I'm not the only African person that has been told go back to Africa when you complain about a mistreatment or how you're being treated not fairly here in Europe. So why I'm even making this video also is because I want to share you my experience that I once had here when someone told me to go back to Africa. So there was this time, I think I was in the room with that, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 people, I cannot remember exactly. And we're all sitting in the room, then we're all talking, and I was talking about my autistic and intellectual disabled brother, everything that was going on with him. I was talking about how the treatment on him was harsh, how the treatment was unfair, the treatment was a racist one, and things like that. And then one of the individuals in the room said to me, Janet, if you think your family is not treated rightly here in Sweden, you can go back to Africa. And in the room, it's like for a moment everybody was quiet, but I could feel like everybody had gone low-key on the side of that person, like what the person said was okay. Because the thing about here in Sweden is that if you know one thing with Swedish people is that they feel like they can treat people as awful as they desire, but you're not allowed to express yourself or express how it affects you. You're just supposed to pretend and low-key make it look like, oh, it never happened or it's not happening. And somebody like me that I've been very vocal about the mistreatment that black people and what my family is getting here in Sweden has always put me in that conflict. So when the person said to me, go back to Africa because I complained about how my autistic and intellectual disabled was being treated unfairly, which if you want to get more about the mistreatment, you can follow his Facebook Instagram account called My Autism Journey, which I've been documenting and putting in there. So I looked at the person, and you know what I said to the person? I said, let me tell you something. I would have loved to go back to Africa, but this is the problem. This is where the problem is coming. If there is no Africa, there is no Europe. If you know one thing about Europeans is that Europeans have always given us this story of like they are going to save Africa. Oh, Europe is rushing to save Africa. But what Europe has not told you is how they have petitioned Africa, which means that every European country has at least one African country that they are feeding off of. And they don't give you that history because that part of Europe, they always try to hide it and make it seem like, oh, what we're doing is saving Africa. But you're not saving Africa, you're stealing from Africa. So I said to that individual, I said, let me tell you something. My country, Cameroon, you know who is ruling Cameroon? France. France is literally the one ruling Cameroon. Yes. So I would have gone back to my country if not because France has decided to recolonize Africa again one more time, because it's not only Cameroon that France is ruling. It's literally all French countries in Africa that France is literally ruling. So let me tell you something, Sweden is not doing me a favor, because I'll tell you why. Everything that France steals from African countries, France doesn't eat it all by themselves. France brings it here and you distribute it among Europeans, and you guys sit and you take it. So if I come to Sweden, I'm just taking a tiny bit of what you Europeans have stolen from Africa, a tiny bit of what your forefathers have stolen from my forefathers, a tiny bit of what you guys are still stealing till today from Africa. So don't tell me to go back to Africa, because Europe is not doing me a favor, and Europe has never done Africans a favor. On the contrary, Europe has always stolen and stolen and is still stealing from Africa. And when is Europe going to stop stealing from Africa? And I said to the Swedish president, I said, I don't know what kind of history that the Europeans or your government has told you when it comes down to Africa, but let me tell you something, Europe is not doing Africa a favor, and Sweden is not doing Africans a favor, because let me tell you why. If there's no Africa, there is no Europe. And by the way, if you want me to go back to Africa, maybe you should just inform EU that they should sanction France, because I think France has forgotten that they cannot recolonize again Africa, because it seems like France has recolonized Africa again one more time. And the bad thing is that my country is one of those countries that are paying the price heavily. So let me tell you something, instead of coming and telling me to go back to Africa, maybe you should go and ask EU, when is EU going to sanction France and stop France from stealing from its French colonies in Africa? And I tell you something, when I was done talking in the room, everyone in the room was quiet. Everyone literally sat quietly, and they looked at me, and I looked at all of them, and then I walked out of the room. Until today, everybody that was in that room, none of them have ever said to me, go back to Africa, because they know. I said it straight to their faces. Let me tell you something, African people, we need to learn about our history. We need to understand our history, because there's something that Europeans have done and white people have done. They don't tell us about our history, especially Europeans. Europeans have had this one-sided narrative of the African history, where they only tell us how they are going to save Africa. They don't tell us the part where they're stealing from us. They don't tell us the part where they're taking our resources and building the European empire and keeping the European empire afloat. And the bad thing is that people like myself and other Africans that have migrated here to Europe, we have this tendency that when we complain that they're mistreating us, they turn around and tell us to go back to Africa, and they make it seem like they are doing us a favor. Let me tell you something, Africans, if you're living in Europe, Europe is not doing you a favor. Go and read your history. Yes, go and read your history, because every African country is being ruled by a European country, directly or indirectly. I'm telling you, yes, go and read. I've said about my country, Cameroon. I'm from Cameroon, and if you read about Cameroon history, you know that France has always been the ruler of Cameroon. France literally collects 80% of the resources in Cameroon. Yes, and it's not just Cameroon; it's all African countries. Yes, all French African countries. France is literally taking their resources. And that's why I tell you, Africans, that if you migrated to Europe and you're being told by a European, go back to Africa because you complain about their mistreatment, let me tell you something, that shouldn't make you feel bad. That shouldn't make you feel like you're a burden to them. You're not a burden to them. They are a burden to you, because they're stealing your resources, and they make you have to leave your own country to come and take a tiny bit of what they've stolen from you. Because if there's no Africa, there's no Europe. Let's be honest to ourselves. If there is no Africa, there is no Europe. Europe has always built its empire through the pain and suffering and torture that they have put on Africa from the days of our forefathers till today, until death. Most of us, we leave our countries in Africa to come to Europe because we feel like we don't have a better life in our countries, and we feel like Europe might give us that life. But let me tell you something. Also ask yourself the question, how does Europe help you when you're the one with the resources? Yeah, because it's like having money in your account, and somebody that doesn't have money comes and give you food, but you have money in your account, but you can't feed yourself, and the money in your account every day is reducing. That means indirectly somebody's taking it. And that's the same thing that's going on with African resources. Africa has more resources than Europe, but every day Europe has to feed Africa, because you know what? And your resources, they're reducing as the day go by. So what is happening to the African resources? It's coming back to Europe. It's with them. So literally, they're taking your resources and they're making it look like they're helping you. And that's why it has created that endowment on them to feel that when you come as somebody like myself coming from Africa to Europe, when you come here, you start complaining about mistreatment, they tell you how you should go back to your country because they're doing you a favor for first of all allowing you to live in their country. No, they're not doing you a favor, because I tell you something, Africa, you are one of the richest continents in the world, but you're never going to enjoy your riches, because you know why? Europe has your riches. Until the day you understand that your riches are in the hands of the Europeans, in the hands of the white people, you will never enjoy it. You never have it. Because the truth is that, let me tell you something, we think that Europe is doing us a favor as Africans. We think that, you know what, migrating to Europe has done us a huge favor. But the truth is that, study your country, read about your country, read about the resources that you have, read about it, and ask yourself, where do those resources go to? Where do all the resources that my country has, where do they go to? You realize that is shipped here to you. It's given to the white man. The white man lives off of your resources and then comes back and tell you how, or the one that saved you, or the one that helped eradicate poverty in Africa. The same people that are eradicating poverty in Africa, they don't have enough the amount of resources that you guys have, but they are eradicating poverty in Africa. So what happened to the African resources? Yeah, what happened to it? And that's why I keep saying this, that Africans, we need to understand something. As an African person living in Europe or living in the abroad, as we always say, don't get intimidated by when white people tell you go back to Africa. It can be very intimidating because they do that to intimidate us. They do that to make us feel like, you know what, they're doing us a favor. We shouldn't think that that we have anything. We should think that without them we have nothing. But let me tell you something. They're not doing you a favor because they've taken by what you have and they're giving you back a tiny bit of what they've stolen from you. Because what they took from you, you didn't even give them the permission. They stole it. They took it. Your resources, did you approve it? No. They stole your resources directly or indirectly. They stole your resources. And they're just giving you a tiny bit of what they've stolen. So don't let anybody don't let any white person make you feel like, you know what, if you think that you've been mistreated and you go back to Africa. Because I tell you something, when the Swedes tell me to go back to Africa, whenever I complain about their mistreatment towards me, my family, or a black person here in Sweden, or the mistreatment that they give on black people here in Sweden, when they tell me back to Africa, I tell them I'm not going back to Africa. Because I tell you why. You're not doing me a favor, Sweden. Because I tell you something, all what Europe has stolen from Africa, can they replace it? Can they give it back? Because if Europe has to give back all what they've stolen from Africa, Europe is going to be the most brokest continent right now on planet Earth. So don't tell me to go back to Africa because I came and I took a tiny bit of what you've stolen from my country. As Africans, we really need to start thinking. We really need to get out of that box that white people have created and put us inside, to believe that they're the ones that are going to save us. They're the ones that are saving us. Because as long as we keep ourselves in that box, we always have this inferiority complex every time we live here in Europe, and every time the white person tells us go back to Africa, or we always have these difficulties of speaking up when we have been mistreated. Because I've seen people here in Sweden that have been mistreated by the Swedes, and then when you tell them why are you allowing that person to mistreat you that way, and they'll be like, Janet, Sweden, what am I supposed to do? You're a human being. You're not working as a slave. Your forefathers worked as slaves for the white. You're not going to work as a slave for them. They have to respect you because all what they have, where did they get it from? Did they not steal it from Africa? Did their forefathers not come to Africa and steal everything that they're still using? If they have to tell Europeans to return back everything they've stolen from Africa, Europe is going to be the most brokest continent right now. Yes, I'm betting you. Yeah, if you think I'm just saying that, let's date. Let's do a challenge. Let's tell Europe, return back everything you've stolen from Africa, and let's see where Europe is going to land. Let's see where Europe is going to land, because Europe has nothing if there's no Africa. So Africans, we need to understand that if there is no Africa, there is no Europe. It's high time we black people start understanding that the Europeans and the white people are not doing us a favor. They are not. They're taking what is ours and then creating a narrative of trying to save us. You cannot save us when you're taking what is ours. You cannot eradicate poverty from Africa when you're the one stealing all Africans' resources. How do you want to eradicate poverty when you're taking what belongs to the people? No, literally, that's the thing I've always asked them. Like, how are you planning on doing that? So, Africans, I just want to tell you guys something. You should not get intimidated or frightened when a white person tells you go back to Africa, because now you know and you understand that they're not doing you a favor. Because you know why? If there's no Africa, there is no Europe. And we need to understand that as Africans and stop letting white people intimidate us with the phrase of going back to Africa, or go back to Africa if you're not grateful, you're not happy with the way we're treating you. Because I tell you something, faces like that don't even scare me. On the contrary, when they say things like that, I remind them of the thieves that they are. Thank you all for listening, and thank you all for watching. And guys, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Don't forget to follow me on Facebook, on Instagram. And I hope to see you guys again in my next video. Bye guys.